some creepy doll running around with a little sheep doll.
Yo, what's up, everybody? My name's Emilio. That's my friend Christian. We build characters for role-playing games based on all sorts of different and generally random prompts and parameters. If you're enjoying the show, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. And now, let's roll characters! So today, we are very excited to have Mike Holik with us. Mike is the editor-in-chief at Mage Hand Press, a designer that's been making content for D&D for over half a decade, and is compelled by forces beyond our understanding to continue making classes, adventures, and campaign settings. And so you might remember Mage Hand Press are actually friends of the show. One of Mike's biggest projects included the Dark Matter campaign setting, and we had an episode earlier where we rolled Enso, the amoeboid gadgeteer who was searching for the perfect bagel. So we're excited to have Mike on the show now, and Mage Hand Press back. And now they're putting out another big release, Valda's Spire of Secrets, which is available on Kickstarter.
Thank you guys so much for having us.
Tell us about Valda. It looks really cool.
So, after Dark Matter, where we got really into, this kind of sci-fi thing where, you just take this book and throw it on top of the other core books and now it's sci-fi, we decided to just make a book that expanded 5e. Just, one big book with 10 base classes, 150 subclasses, I think 130 spells, and it just works with every setting, every campaign, and we're just trying to build it out so anybody can just kind of take 5e to the next level. It builds on these kind of core fundamental things that make 5th edition fun. It's compatible with everything, and I think we've done something really, really special here.
As Mike, you were mentioning, there are a bunch of new races and classes in Valda's Spire. We're actually we're going to jump right into this, and we're going to roll a race for this character, and we're going to be choosing from the 5 races of Valda's Spire: the Gepetin, the Mandrake, the Mousefolk, the Spirit Host, or the Near Human. And so that's 1 through 5. If you roll 6, we'll re-roll it.
Sounds good.
But why don't you roll that d6 and see what the race of this character is going to be?
This is the most exciting part. We've got a 1.
Okay, so this is a Gepetin. And I'm assuming I'm pronouncing that right because it's got a Geppetto vibe to it.
Exactly.
Is that right?
Exactly.
Tell us about the Gepetin, Mike.
This is one of my favorites. I'm so glad we rolled this. The Gepetin are a race of living toys, and they come in different types. Their sub-races include porcelain ones and raggedy kind of string doll ones and stuffed animals.
Okay, right on. So this will be kind of fun as we're sort of dreaming up this character. We'll have to figure out what type of created toy they are, but we'll get to that in a moment. If you wouldn't mind, Mike, grabbing a D10 and giving us the class, and what we're going to be choosing from here are, again, the 10 classes of Valda's Spire. So that's Alchemist, Captain, Craftsman, Gunslinger, Investigator, Martyr, Necromancer, Warden, War Mage, and Witch. So a lot to work with here. What are we going to end up with, Mike?
I rolled a 0, which means it's a 10, which means we have a Witch.
Yes, you got it. We have a Gepetin Witch, and then the next thing we'll need is a D20 for background, if you wouldn't mind, Mike.
9. What does a 9 give us?
That's a Hermit.
Okay, that works. We can work with this. This will be all right.
Okay, all right. And then, well, here's a question. The next roll is typically a D4 for gender, but do Gepetins have gender? Tell us, Mike.
So this is always a really interesting question, and it's not something I usually get too deep into when we're crafting our races, unless it is really important to their identity. For the Gepetin, I don't have any mention of it whatsoever. They have their names are like toy names, right? So things like Birdie, Cuddles, Desmond, Dusty, Hobbs. So we don't necessarily need to gender them one way or another. It's sort of up to you guys.
I think let's have them be genderless, and we'll use they, them pronouns.
Sounds great.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so to recap, we have a Gepetin Witch Hermit with non-binary pronouns. Emilio, Mike, do you have any immediate thoughts on what the heck this character is about?
I've got to learn a little more about the Gepetins. So Mike, I guess how are they created or brought to life? and then how would one become a witch?
And maybe tell us about what a witch is too.
Yeah, so I think I'll start with the witch because it's a really interesting version of this type of class. So when I design a class, I normally start with a sort of singular thematic and mechanical thrust, something that makes it unique in how you play it, and hopefully holds up a new kind of part of the system that doesn't have a whole class built around it. So the witch is based on debuffing. The kind of core thrust of it is that you're using your hexes, which are sort of like debuffing cantrips that you can extend by cackling on your turn. So every turn you get to look at the DM square in the eye and say, I cackle, and it's amazing. Witches get their magic from a curse that has affected them. So whatever we choose as kind of our curse for this Geppetton could be the thing that animated it, or it could be just it could have been a living toy already and then afflicted with some sort of evil arcana, which it kind of keeps within itself.
Okay, so one of the things that I like that you said was that you can have the curse that makes the witch also potentially be the thing that animates this inanimate toy, right?
Certainly, yeah. So you can make it so that somebody has cursed a toy or potentially a child, and either turned them into a toy or they have their spirit is in the toy instead. We're getting into horror movie sort of Slaymate vibes, and there's a lot of fun stuff we can do with this. It depends kind of how dark you guys want to go with this one.
I think we should go for it. The fact that you started us on that path, I think we should get dark with this.
So I think also at first level we pick that curse. The curses that the witch can start with in Valda's are burned, drowned, feral, hideous, hollow, infested, loveless, possessed, starving, visions, and whispers.
Hollow and possessed immediately stood out to me.
Right, so with hollow, your soul has been divorced from your body, trapping you in a limbo between life and death. This lets you drain some life force from someone when you strike them. The possessed, your soul is occupied by a foreign spirit that sometimes tries to wrest away your consciousness. However, while you sleep, it whispers magical secrets to you. This gains you additional witch spells.
Well, so I'm thinking about this, and it doesn't have to be a child, right? It could be somebody of any age, too, right? Who gets cursed. Because the more, horrible the curse, the less comfortable I feel with it being a child, basically.
Yes.
So I like the hollow one because I think it feels like it fits really well with the spirit being bound to this object as well. There was an attempt to bind them fully to this object, but it didn't quite take, and so they're kind of in the toy and kind of not in the toy. So I don't know if and maybe there's something interesting there about them fighting the sort of curse.
This could be a botched animate object spell. It could be a botched banishment spell, or some sort of kind of curse that was supposed to bind somebody to an object, or maybe the curse went exactly as planned, and the idea was put this person in a toy. Or maybe it's even something like a voodoo doll situation where they were trying to make a voodoo doll of this person, and the magic went horribly, horribly wrong.
Oh, okay. I kind of like that idea.
I do too.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot, and I'm thinking, okay, so say we have this character for whom a witch or other sort of magical being had such animosity that they decided to create a voodoo doll. So who is this character who has run afoul of a spellcaster?
I'm looking at the hermit background, which it seems almost too easy.
It really does, yeah.
And actually, I'm hoping we can put some kind of original twist on this. It could be something where this is a vagabond of some kind, right? Someone who's wandering from town to town, and gets caught up in some noble's, weird dark ritual, just because they're expendable.
to me, it feels almost like punching down if you start with them in this position of being isolated and maybe destitute, and then you curse them and put them in a bad becomes worse. It feels almost
that's a great point.
It feels much more cohesive to me that you would start with somebody who is a nobleman or somebody of privilege who commits a crime and flees, and their consequences eventually find them.
Yeah, I felt more along those lines too, Mike, where, like, although I had a thought, like, is this a fairy godmother spell gone wrong, right? Where it's like a prince is trying to, find a way into his forbidden love's chambers, and so he asks to be put into, or the fairy godmother or witch or whoever puts him into this stuffed animal and puts it on her bed, and then he tries to talk to her as a stuffed animal, and she like throws him out the window, because she's obviously terrified by that sort of experience.
So I like the idea that it's someone then that does it like willingly, like that chooses this fate, and maybe that's for pride, maybe it's for a heroic reason, but like that it's not them being cursed against their will.
So let's pivot off of that for a moment and pick a type of toy that our person turned into. That might enlighten us as to how they got this way, or what they were intending to do by turning themselves into a toy. The three sub-races for the Gepetin are the Bisque, which are horrifying porcelain dolls. The marionettes, made of wood, painted faces. They're also fantastic dancers, as one might imagine. And the Raggeties, often called plushies, who are stuffed with fluff.
I've got a new idea now.
All right, let's hear it.
Okay, this is a dark twist. A sick father knows that his time is coming, and he wants to prolong his time on this earth to be with his child. So he asks a spellcaster to put his body into a porcelain doll because his daughter loves these porcelain dolls. With the idea that this is not going to last forever. But so then the spellcaster dies, something happens, and he's trapped eternally inside of his daughter's toy.
Or maybe his body simply passes away while he's within the toy.
Oh.
I like
Very
that.
good, yeah.
I like that.
This actually might be a great time to roll ability scores, because if we know, like this person's abilities, if we know what they're good at, then we can kind of figure out, okay, who are they, and then how did they end up in this situation? So let's do that.
Yes, let's do it.
So we are going to roll some ability scores. We have a little game that we play here. Each of us are going to roll 2 of the ability scores, and then whoever has the highest combined total on those 2 rolls will win the bragging rights of the day, which are very, very valuable today. Today is double bragging rights day.
Hot commodity.
So, Mike, if you would please roll first 4d6, drop the lowest, and give us a strength score.
15.
Oh,
nice start. Take it, Christian. Roll, listen to Dex.
Okay, here we go. 13. I'm in it. I'm still in it. Okay.
Oh gosh, that
you got con.
The good dice have been used up here. That's a 9 con.
Oh, okay.
That's fitting our ailing father story.
Yeah, it's a good thing we made him of porcelain, like very fragile.
Oh, yes, very good.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay, you got intelligence, Mike.
14.
Oh,
wow.
Man, all right, doing quite well.
Wisdom for you, Christian.
I don't know if I can win this one. It's not going to happen today. I have a 10. Okay, I think Mike, you've run away with it, but what do you got for charisma there, Emilio?
Let's see our lowly charisma score. 12.
12. Okay. So, the points here are, Emilio, you have 21. I have 23. And Mike, with a whopping 29, wins the day on our rolls. Congratulations.
Okay, so we've got a fairly capable
Yeah.
A pretty solid character all around, except for Khan.
Right.
But do these numbers say anything to you, or do they change anything for you, Mike?
Well, it's funny that we ended up with lots of strength and lots of intelligence. So a high intelligence score typically tells me something about them being very. They have a lot of intent behind what they're doing, and they like to scheme. So this might have been, they might have come up with this entire plan on their own, and maybe didn't enlist another spellcaster, but tried to devise a magic ritual on their own.
Oh,
that's good. Yeah.
Yes, I like that. And the contrast there is the intelligence is really high, but the wisdom is just average, which is to say they don't they have a lot of knowledge at their disposal. They were able to find these spell books or whatever in order to do the ritual, but they didn't really have the thought process to fully consider what are the potential consequences of this. Missing that sort of wisdom, thoughtfulness, contemplative piece of the puzzle.
It sounds a little bit like they, based on what we were just saying, that maybe they're a bit prideful. So I actually, that's taking me a little bit away from the sad dad story, and they're just an egomaniac, and they try to put themselves in a toy to prove that it can be done, but then it works, but they can't go back.
Is there a way that we get to Hollow because he does this and it's not even in the realm of something that his daughter would be interested in, and she she shatters the doll, and that's why he sort of
that is a haunting image.
And he has to you can imagine him sort of reassembling bits of his face or something. He's got cracks all over his body. By being
the bisque Gepetin do already get intimidation proficiency, so this is just dead on there.
Well, then that could feed into the hermit piece.
Oh, yeah, because he is prideful.
Yeah, he's trying to kind of hide away his deformity.
Just so we're orienting ourselves here, so it's this guy who is very prideful, really intelligent, and he wants to prove that he can do, even though he's completely untrained, he can do this spell to place his spirit into a doll's body. And he's doing this ostensibly for his daughter's sake, but he's somebody who doesn't really necessarily consider what other people's interests are or whatever. Yes. And so he does this. He places himself in his daughter's room, and then she freaks out, throws the doll to the ground, shattering it. And in that moment, perhaps the strain actually, because he's still connected to his body, it breaks his body and he dies, and he's trapped inside this shell for
I want to believe
eternity?
That his daughter isn't even all that young. He has so little connection with her. She's in her early 20s or something, a young woman. And he does not know how to connect with her at all. And she just sees this thing and freaks out, smashes it, and it interrupts the entire spell. And now he's this kind of ruined doll.
I also just really like this idea of a parent who's oh, when you were 5, you said you liked dolls. Therefore, you're in your 20s right. And you still like dolls.
Right. You used to love these.
Yeah, you like horses, right? Any other flourishes we want to throw in here?
The only one I would like to ask is, what is this character's familiar?
What the heck is a familiar of a porcelain doll?
This is a really good question. There's the normal suite of familiars that you get. In addition to that, you can choose, there's the flying book, homunculus, a mock. A mock is a tiny coin-sized familiar. A moon jelly, which is kind of it's a jellyfish. Pet rock. Pet rocks are good for people who don't actually want to deal with the familiar system. You have a pet rock. Pseudo dragons. A ragdoll, which is, as you might expect, a kind of yarn puppet, which could be a very funny sort of thing. A sprite, a tin soldier, a winter wolf pup, or a yarn golem.
I was just thinking of sometimes those porcelain dolls are like a little girl and like a shepherd girl with a lamb. And so the lamb itself could be the familiar, right? Like some connection to the doll itself.
I like that. Some creepy doll running around with a little sheep doll. A little sheep,
Yes.
like yarn doll or something. So, seems like we've got a story for this weird bisque sub-race Japan situation, which, what the heck kind of name do we come up with for this tortured soul? You know, we have, of course, there's the potential of the name prior to being imprisoned in a toy, or we could come up with the name that they assume after that. So I don't know if you guys are having thoughts about names.
I am so bad with names.
Oh, it's the best part because everybody's terrible at names.
I want them to have like a sort of snobby, like preppy, pretentious name.
Okay.
And when you said like what was their name prior, I thought the name Prior would actually be a good first name.
Yeah.
Like Prior Vanderschmidt or something, right? Like
I like Prior as a name. It's also, you know, vaguely sort of non-gendered, which is pretty cool given that they are a they.
Yeah.
And then something very sort of hoity-toity. Prior something the 7th.
It's got to have a Von in the middle. I don't know. I want to throw a lot of V's in at the end, like Von Vanderveech.
Well, maybe we can connect it to the story. Like, let's look up the German word for something.
I'm bringing up Google Translate. Prideful is Stolz.
The German name for Pinocchio is Turles Abenteuer. Turles Abenteuer. I can't pronounce it. It's long and pretentious sounding.
If we can pronounce it, certainly. If we have German speakers in the audience, they are switching this off as fast as possible.
Turles Abenteuer. Oh, that does look very haughty. What if it's like Prior Hintern Stolz Von Turlitch Abenteuer?
If somebody else can say that every time, perfect.
I mean, what if it's just Prior Stolz Von Turlitch?
That sounds good. We should modify this. Okay, if we're throwing out most of the German language here, as well as your entire German-speaking audience, we might as well modify that last word, that last part of the name, so it is much easier to pronounce. Because I feel like Turles cannot possibly be the way that this is supposed to run off the human tongue.
How about Turlitch?
Turlitch. That's good.
Prior Stolz Von Turlitch.
Yeah, it's like ugly in a way that rich people like.
It's rich. It's ugly rich.
It's
or
old
rich
money ugly.
Yeah, old money
yes,
ugly.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Prior Stolz Von Turlitch.
All right, Christian. I think we have it. Tell us about Prior Stolz Von Turlitch.
Yeah, Prior Stolz Von Turlitch is this haughty noble who is rather disconnected from his 20-something-year-old daughter. He is wanting to show that he can be some really exceptional magic guy. And so he decides that he's going to find, through his various resources and knowledge, a book to place his spirit into the body of a porcelain doll in order to surprise his daughter, who a million years ago told him once that she liked dolls, and, you know, he doesn't really pay attention to much of anybody but himself, and so he thinks she still likes them. And besides, he gets to show off that he's able to do this thing. So he turns himself into this doll and places himself in his daughter's room, and she immediately freaks out. She smashes the doll on the ground, breaks into a million pieces, and in doing so actually severs the link that Prior Stolz Von Turlitch has to his physical body, and his physical body dies, and he has to reassemble himself painstakingly, now this strange magical being, too prideful to show his face to the world. He hides himself away from the rest of humanity, stalking here and there whoever might come into his
porcelain grasp.
His porcelain grasp. And that's Prior Stolz Von Turlitch.
All right. Well, Christian, I think we have our character. Mike, thank you so much for being on the show with us. And please tell people where they can find you.
I am everywhere on the internet that has Mage Hand Press on it, so magehandpress.com. Right now, you should go back Valda's Spire of Secrets on Kickstarter, or go to spireofsecrets.com. That'll take you right there. It's a fantastic book. It's got the Geppetton. You can also play, instead of scary porcelain dolls, you can play teddy bears and such. It's a very, very good book. I think you'll enjoy it.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so
Right
much
on.
for joining us. All right, Christian, do we have our character?
Yes, we do, and now so do all of you. If you want to play Prior Stolz Von Turlitch in your game, first get Valda's Spire of Secrets, and then you can click the link below to download the PDF.
And as always, if you've enjoyed Let's Roll Characters, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave us a comment, let us know what you think of Prior Von Turlitch, Stolz Von Turlitch. And let us know what kinds of characters you'd like to see us bring to life in future episodes.
Right on, and thanks for watching.
Now go play some RPGs.
Hey!
Woo! Yes!
All right!
Boom, 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 boom. Characters, gonna roll characters.
I am Prior Vander Spit Mountbatten von
Right.
Glockenspiel or something. Yeah, it's true. It's Geppetto, who's kind of a jerk. A jerk pedo, if you will. Sorry.